Hello, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the South Kingstown Town Council. It is Monday, April 22nd. The time is 7:30. Our first order of business is the pledge to the flag. Please join us. Thank you. Will the clerk take the roll, please?
Council President Collins.
Here.
Council Vice President DeCruz.
Here.
Councilwoman Kelso.
Here.
Councilman McAtee.
Here.
Councilman Vealy.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you. Item 4 is the approval of minutes of previous meetings.
Motion to approve agenda item 4A, B, and C.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Item 5 is the consent agenda.
Make a motion that we approve item 5, the consent agenda.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries as well. Item 6A under licenses is a resolution granting a victualling license to Nitaya Ikapan, LLC, doing business as Luktai Cuisine. Oh, please come on forward to the podium then. And state your name for the record. That'll save me from butchering your name.
My name is Wong Pachampotifen.
Thank you. And tell us, I think we're all familiar with Luke Tai, but tell us, are you continuing the same service, same hours, everything?
Yeah, it could be everything the same. I just take over from my uncle. So he will take care of the business, so everything will be the same. If people work, everything will be all the same. Just the change owner, that's it.
Great. Any questions from the
So you said your uncle's purchasing it, or you're buying it from your uncle? I'm sorry.
I didn't buy it. It's just that he wanted me to try it out first. When I, run that first, and then when everything's doing good, so I gotta buy from him.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion on 6A?
Motion to approve agenda item 6A.
Second.
So moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you.
6B is a resolution granting a miscellaneous permit to conduct the Run for Kerry 4-mile Memorial Road Race on Sunday, August 4th, from 6 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. To the Kerry Lynn Bissett Family Athletic Scholarship Fund of Wakefield, subject to the execution of a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town, issuance of a certificate of insurance naming the town as an additional insured in the amount specified by the Finance Director, and approval by the Traffic and Transportation Review Committee. Kathleen Bissett.
Hi, my name is Kathy Bissett. I'm here to speak on behalf of Run for Kerry. If you have any questions.
I think we're pretty familiar with it, but if you want to tell folks, use this as an opportunity to market it, please do.
Thank you. This is going to be our 18th year doing the road race in memory of my daughter Carrie Bissett, who passed away in 2001 from bacterial meningitis. She graduated from South Kingston High School in 2000. She was one of the cross-country team. We give out 2 scholarships a year at South Kingston High School to 2 females going on to college. And we also started purchasing books quite a few years ago in Carrie's name because she wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. So we hope to continue it for a few more years.
Awesome. How would you can register online to participate?
You can register online, and we will be putting forms out at different businesses in town.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve item 6B.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
6C is a resolution granting a miscellaneous permit to conduct a portion of the Firm Man Triathlon on Sunday, September 8th, from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. to Firm Racing of Massachusetts, subject to the execution of a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town, issuance of a certificate of insurance naming the town as an additional insured in the amount specified by the Finance Director, subject to the approval of RIDOT and the Transportation and Traffic Review Committee. William Fisk.
Hi, Fred Bartlett, Narragansett. I'm the local coordinator for this race. It's been going on for 23 years in the South County area. Last year we had approximately 300 people based on 4 different types of events, swim only, swim and bike, sprint tri, and then the half Ironman triathlon. We use parts of 5 communities. It's a long-standing event. We use South Kingstown roads to get up on the highway on Route 1. We go through Charleston, go into Westerly, and we come back on the bike for the long course. We use parts of South Kingston roads. For the run course on the long half Ironman course, we use Middle Bridge Road. Half the profits of this race go to the town of Narragansett in the form of recreation special projects. It's a for-profit company, but half the profits of this race go back to the town of Narragansett for those special projects, like the Cristofaro Skate Park and different funds for kids for uniforms and things like that that people can't afford. Last year, we turned in $5,000. So in the course of 23 years or so, it's approaching $400,000 that we've given back to the community. I'm the kind of the local coordinator for everything for this race, and I'm representing them here tonight.
Thank you. Any questions?
How does one sign up?
Thank you. Yeah, a couple ways. The race site is firm-racing.com. They're local flyers as well. And then in Narragansett, they have sign-ups in Narragansett through their offices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve 6C.
So moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. 6D is a resolution granting a private detective license to Hill Investigations, LLC of West Kingston. Application by Kimberly Hill.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Hill. I'm a retired Narragansett police officer of 20 years, and I reside in South Kingstown. I have intentions of being a contract investigator for attorneys, insurance agencies, private citizens, and I do have a bond I was asked to bring with me.
Do you want that? Yeah. Any questions?
So Kimberly, is this your first endeavor with the private investigation?
Yes.
Okay. That was the only question I had.
Very good. Do I hear a motion on 6D?
I'll make a motion that we approve item 6D.
So moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good luck. And that brings us to item 7 on the agenda, which is a public hearing. This is for the purpose of reviewing and obtaining citizens' views on the proposed PY 2018 application to the Rhode Island Office of Housing and Community Development for funding consideration under the Federal Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program.
Good evening. I'm Kayla Gray, Principal Planner. So if you'd like, I can start with just an overview of the application process. So right now we're submitting for the program year 2018, which I know seems a little bit out of step with our calendar year, and it is, for the Community Development Block Grant Program. The applications that South Kingstown is submitting this year total up to $107,453.70 to be exact, and that is to support the public service activities of Welcome House and the public infrastructure and facilities application of Looking Upwards to do a kitchen renovation project, as well as administration for the Washington County CDC in support of those applications. So the application is before you all tonight. Tomorrow night, the Planning Board will be doing a review for consistency with the comprehensive plan, and following that, we'll be submitting the application on or around May 15th.
Great. So the point tonight is really just to gather public feedback and then come back and approve it.
Kayla, do you have an idea of when you might hear if it's approved or not?
Yeah, so right now the state schedule, so the Office of Housing and Community Development, it's funny when you take an acronym into words. So OHCD is anticipating getting responses back by August 1st for who is funded. And then last year, the program actually got a bit delayed, and so the announcements came out, but the awards for the actual funding of the projects were quite a bit delayed beyond that. They're hoping to remedy that this year, and so we expect to see awards August 1st, spend the fall completing environmental reviews and contracting, and seeing contracts in place by the end of calendar year 19.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kayla? All right, let's see if there's anybody who wants to speak to the issue. So this is a public hearing. If you have any input that you want on this particular issue, please come to the podium, state your name for the record. If not, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That brings us to communications. Communication 8B is a letter dated April 2nd, 2019.
Mr. President, yes. Just the reference to the public hearing, the memorandum, and what the department is looking to do at this point is to get a resolution in support of the application as presented in the memorandum that was circulated to council and as presented here tonight. It is a little bit out of phase because the planning board will check for consistency tomorrow night. We have absolutely no reason to believe that they will find anything other than it is consistent with a comprehensive plan. So the staff has asked that the council pass a resolution tonight authorizing it to submit the application as presented in the memorandum and presented here at the public hearing.
I think we can consider that. Do I hear such a motion?
I'll make a motion that we support the planning board's application.
Do you need this exact wording?
The resolution in the memorandum is probably our safest bet, so if the motion would reference the resolution as presented in the memorandum submitted to council, it's probably the best way for us to proceed.
Is that motion sufficient, or do we want to?
And this is what's on the screen.
So if the motion could include reference to the resolution dated April 16th in the memorandum, as long as that's in your motion, you're good.
Okay. So I'll expand the motion to include the April 16th memorandum, the resolution contained in the memorandum.
Second.
So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. And now we can do 8B, which is a letter dated April 2nd, 2019, from Mark Hayward, District Director of the U.S. Small Business Administration, requesting a proclamation designating the first week in May as Small Business Week in SK. What are we going to do with this one?
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution acknowledging the first week of May as Small Business Week in South Kingstown.
Second.
So moved. Discussion? I think we did this last year, right? Yeah.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. 8D is a resolution adopted April 8th, 2019 by the Westerly Town Council in support of legislation pending in the Rhode Island General Assembly that would amend the general laws 2317-6 for comprehensive discharge planning. We've received this and placed it on file. Now what are we going to do with it?
Rob, do we have any further explanation on this?
Really, there's not. My understanding, based on just a reading of the resolution passed by the Westerly Town Council, is that they're seeking legislation that would allow hospitals to contact next of kin and someone who can assist those who are being discharged, particularly those with substance abuse issues. The idea is to sort of get to a support network so that folks aren't discharged from a facility without someone knowing that they're now back out and potentially in jeopardy.
Do I hear a motion on 8D?
So I'm a little uncomfortable with the ambiguity here. You know, what if someone doesn't have that significant person to notify? What happens then? I don't know. Feels a little invasive to me.
Could we ask them for a better detailed explanation, and we can reconsider it at our next meeting?
Sure, I'd be happy to contact.
Amend Article 12 entitled of Education. It's been received and placed on file. And what are we going to do with it? Do you want to describe what this one does too, Rob?
So this is a resolution passed by the Pawtucket School Committee that is seeking legislation that would drive us toward a state constitutional guarantee of a right to equal education. Several states, including Massachusetts and Connecticut, have got state constitutionally based rights to education. Rhode Island Supreme Court on a couple of occasions has read the Article 12 provision of the state constitution pertaining to education as giving the authority and the responsibility to promote education to the state legislature, but it does not provide, the constitutional provision does not provide a state guarantee of an equal education across the state. Pawtucket and the school committee in particular would like the state constitution to be modified so that the guarantee is there. It's worth noting that the guarantee to an education, an equal education, education at all and an equal education is state-based in the United States. There is no federal constitutional right to education. So if it's going to exist as a constitutional right, it has to be based in a state constitution or until the U.S. Supreme Court decides otherwise with regard to the federal constitution. But it's longstanding law that there is no federal constitutional right to education. As I say, several states have read their state constitutions as providing that guarantee. Rhode Island currently does not, and the Pawtucket School District School Committee believes it should and is urging town councils around the state to join it in petitioning the General Assembly to take steps necessary to modify the Constitution here in Rhode Island to guarantee an equal education to all. The implications of that are very broad. It would change a lot.
Do we know the status of these bills, whether they're out of committee or?
I do not. Yeah. I do not know. I haven't done the research to find out where they are.
Michael, are you familiar with this request?
I'm familiar with it just in the sense that I have just read the resolution that they want you to join. I'm more than happy to follow up on where this legislation is. My gut tells me it's not going to go very far.
Right. And the other thing would be, once you follow up, what kind of implications it would have at the local level for South Kingstown?
That's going to be really difficult to put your arms around.
Yeah. I think there was a report or white paper produced by the Public Expenditures Council, RIPAC, about sort of the differences between Rhode Island education and some of our surrounding states, and maybe this is one of the things that grew out of that because they felt that
So if I may, the state constitutional guarantee doesn't necessarily tell us how a state is going to live up to that guarantee. Massachusetts has lived up to its state constitutional guarantee largely by stepping in and providing a great deal of state funding. Connecticut has lived up to its state constitutional guarantee by telling municipalities that it would provide funding and failing to do so.
Sounds like Rhode Island.
Right.
Yeah. I'd be inclined to place this one on file unless somebody feels strongly we want to continue it, but till we have more information. But I'll make a motion to place communication item N on file, L on file.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And maybe next year. Item N, an email dated April 2nd, 2019, from Mary Ann Crawford, CFO of the school department, providing additional information regarding the request for waiver of building permit fees for the Matunic Elementary School construction project. We've got that, placed it on file, and what's our next step? Rob, did you want to go over this one briefly as well?
This is an item that's come back. We dealt with this a couple of meetings ago, and it was noted at the meeting where we first saw a request for a waiver of the permit fees for construction related to an HVAC upgrade at the Matunic Elementary School. The waiver request was made by RGB. It appeared to be a request on behalf of the general contractor. However, the folks who've been coming into the building office have been subcontractors. At the time, the council was advised that the procurement official for South Kingstown recommended against giving the $3,700 waiver because, one, the RFP, the request for proposals that was the basis for the bids that resulted in the contractor being awarded this contract, did not state that a waiver would be granted. And two, even if the bid spec, the RFP had stated that a waiver would be granted, it would have applied only to the prime contractor and not to the subs who were coming in. Subsequent to that discussion, Mary Ann Crawford over at the school department watched the exchange here in council chambers and sent an email saying, yes, it's true that the RFP didn't say that there would be a waiver. However, somebody asked that question during the contracting process, and all bidders were told that in the past fees had been waived. So that might have left the impression in the minds of some bidders that it would be waived again. I've spoken to the procurement officer here in Town Hall, Julie Mason, and her opinion on this subject has not changed given that new piece of information. She's still of the opinion that it wasn't a clear declaration that the fees would be waived, one, and two, even if it were a declaration that the fees would be waived, it would only apply to the prime, and again, the applicants that have come in looking for the waivers are subcontractors who would not be entitled to that waiver.
Mike, did you want to add that?
And I subsequently spoke with counsel for the school committee. I explained all that. He understood where and why, and his only request was that on a going forward basis, we make it very clear in the RFPs between us and the school committee as to whether or not those fees will be waived or not.
That makes sense.
There is a council policy on this point, and in discussions with the school department, what we've decided is we just need to reference that policy and use the language from that policy when we go out to bids, or out for bids like these.
All right. So maybe a motion to place this on file. Do I hear something?
I'll make a motion that we place item 8N on file.
Second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. And that brings us to item number 9, comments from interested citizens. So it's a light crowd, but maybe lots of speakers, no? If none, any comments from council members tonight? We're moving right through this thing. All right. Town manager's report.
We'll try to make this quick. Quick and interesting, actually. Significant issues, really just two. We're, deep in the throes of getting the tax roll put together. Gene's folks down in the assessor's office are working like the dickens to make sure that we hit the June certification. That's actually just June 15th, not June 15th percent. Asphalt prices are up 30% in the last 24 months. You heard in the work session from the Director of Public Services that this is really putting a stress on the road pavement program. We're either going to do fewer roads or we're going to have to figure out where to find more funds to stretch the program a little further this year. Negotiations with the police union has begun. Building and school audit has been completed. We're just starting to figure out what that means for us, but there may be some significant opportunities to save on energy bills, both in municipal buildings and in school buildings. Trying to schedule the repainting of Hale. We're looking at just about now for that project to start. IT is working with the state on the food truck licensing. One note here, the food truck licensing was going to sort of replace the peddler's license locally. That has already happened. The peddler's license is gone. The state has begun issuing food truck licenses. The municipalities were supposed to have their own rules in place by July. The state has extended that deadline to December. We're still on track. We're still trying to get something in place by July because we don't want to be in limbo. We don't want to be in a sort of no man's land with regard to local rules. And the planning board has been working on this project. IT is working on the state implementation of the permitting process, which is all sort of online. So I think we're in good shape here, but there's some wiggle room and we've got some time to shift things if we need to. One note of concern, one of the things that we started last year was the public charging station for electric vehicles down at the Comfort Station. We have now spent $1,700 at that public charging station, and that number keeps going up. It is starting to be used more, and we said to the council, if we start seeing this to be a significant number, we're going to come back and recommend that we start charging for the use of the charging stations. So far, that number's not super scary, but it is definitely growing, and there may be some benefit to beginning to think about charging, not just because of the price, but because of equity and access to that resource. There aren't too many folks who are using it. It's just a handful of vehicles that are observed at the station.
So, Rob, just for clarification, I thought, and I evidently misunderstood, that those were going to be paid for by the users.
They have the capacity to be paid for by the users. Initially, we were not going to charge until we saw that we were going to have to charge. The ones here at Town Hall are only for town vehicles. Right. The one down at the Comfort Station is available to the public, and we have not charged anyone to this point. We did, however, purchase the software component of the program so that we can turn on a charging, a fee at any time.
So you just swipe a credit card or something like that?
That's what it will be if and when the council directs us.
And how many of these stations are at the Comfort Station? Is it two?
One or two, Mark? Four. Four of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know we won't make a decision tonight, but my feeling is the people who are using them probably should be paying for them. And they're also dedicated 4 parking spots that are in a lot that's almost always full. That's worth a prime.
Yep. So it's beginning to be a number, and we're starting to see it, which is good. I mean, it means that people are using it. It means that the initial, investment that we made works. Now, the next question becomes, what's the appropriate, amount to charge? Where do we? I mean, you want to continue to have them used,
right?
So we'll have to figure this out.
And to your point that it seems that only a few people are taking advantage, it's a real benefit to those people for free.
That's right. I don't have any data that suggests, however, that we're turning people away either. So, you know, I don't know exactly what the market is down there, but we definitely have got a sort of mini market developing, and it's beginning to be interesting enough that we may be able to charge, recoup the costs, and at the same time make sure that the resource is completely utilized.
Right.
Not a bad place for us to be. It cost us $1,700 to get here. But we got the equipment for free, so, you know.
It's pretty good.
Nothing's free.
That's true. That's true.
The 1,700 is over what period of time?
Mark, that's...
6 months, yeah.
Minor concern, not really a concern, but we did have 2 petitions that were filed today with the requisite 25 signatures dealing with the budget. One would take $165,000 from the school fund and make that available for debt service. The other would take $200,000 from the school fund and make those dollars available for EMS services. Matunix HVAC is one thing, the senior centers is another, and it has failed. We're without heat at the senior center. Luckily, it's warming up, and that's not an immediate issue, but the HVAC system is going to have to be replaced.
So cooling still working, though, or is it
It is.
just...
Cooling is working at the senior center as of this morning.
Okay.
Very successful program around the country, Headspace, which is sort of mindfulness and meditation program, is up and running, and we're sort of excited about that one.
Can you elaborate on that? Where is that?
Yeah, this is actually, you know what, if Amy wants to come up and describe it, she's more than welcome to. It's basically a mindfulness and sort of...
No, I get that part.
Pause kind of during the day, take mini meditation moments. Please.
Amy Reiner, Director of Administrative Services. So we had applied for a grant through the Trust, a wellness grant. Any of the communities or school departments that are members of the Trust can apply for a grant on an annual basis. It's heavily competitive, and it's for $5,000. We won this past year, and it allowed us to purchase 1-year subscriptions to Headspace for a population of our employees, and therefore offer it for free. So it's not just something that they can use at work, it's something that they can use 24/7. There's access online as well as on mobile device. There's a 1-minute meditation, there's, you know, all the way up. Some of them are geared towards anxiety, some of them are geared towards, you know, there's a variety of things, but it's something that we have wanted to offer through our expanding wellness program. And it's actually, you know, we've had a number of employees join, and it's amusing myself. It's pretty neat.
Sounds like a good program.
Amy, if you want to stay up, because you're going to be the next slide, too. But before we go to the next slide, other sort of successes. Jean Bouchard informed me today that the handicapped vehicle exemption, if you remember, we had exempted vehicles that were specifically designed to assist persons with disabilities. We've received 3 applications for the fiscal year, which means something good has come from one of the resolutions that was put forth here. And then there's a Champlin grant application that's been submitted for the items listed there. Now, the statistics tonight. Human resource statistics for April 5th through April 18th. I'm not going to comment on all of those, but Amy, if you want to share with us what you think the big points are.
One thing I do want to point out is that our workers' comp and public safety IOD injured on duty rates have really, and I don't say this lightly, drastically decreased in the last couple of years. I really commend our new personnel administrator for working with the police department and our EMS director to really, you know, make the process much more smooth and easily understood. But I also want to recognize we've also seen a significant decrease on the workers' comp for our civilian employees across town. Really, again, keeping safety in mind. The trust offers a number of trainings. The department and division heads have done a great job of making sure we have the right equipment and we have the right training and know what to do. Does the council have any other questions on any of the other stats?
Those vacancies, is it just one police officer, or is it more? I can't see that far.
At the current time, we just have one that we know about, but we anticipate there's always certain turnover, so we try to recruit in advance for academy.
Great. Thank you.
In regard to the open position for the finance director, are we receiving a lot of interest for that position?
We did just post that recently. We've already received several applications. At any time we have a deadline associated, I didn't want to do position posted until filled. Anytime you have a deadline, that creates the sense of urgency. But I am surprised to see the applications that we've already received, based on it's just been posted. But we are trying to cast a wide net. We are posting nationally with GFOA as well as regionally. We've posted with the league, and we're, like I said, we're just really trying to look for high-quality applicants, cast a wide net.
And just on that point for the council's information, as I believe everybody knows, Trish Sunderland has agreed to serve as interim finance director and has received the delegation of authority and is continuing today several points of communication with me. So I want to thank Trish for her continued professionalism and assistance in making sure we get through the budget cycle.
Thank you.
Now, one of the interesting things about data is trying to visualize it, and this is a map that deals with one of the questions that came up at a work session last week, which is how many accessory dwelling units have been constructed since they were authorized in the zoning ordinance in 1996. This is a map of all of those units. And it actually sort of compares with the development pattern that we've seen in the same period of time for all new construction. About half of them are outside of the sort of central villages, and about half of them are inside the central villages. That map's available in the presentation for folks. And this brings us to our special presentation tonight. There's a new mapping tool that the GIS guru down at the planning department has put together for us, and here's Carol Baker to show us and walk us through the online project tracking system.
Oh, I keep on thinking my screen's a touch screen. It's not my phone. Good evening. My name is Carol Baker. I'm the GIS administrator for the town. GIS, for those that don't know, stands for Geographic Information Systems, or mapping on steroids, I like to prefer. Chelsea, our director of planning, tasked me about 6 months ago. I don't want to close the application.
Just open up your browser. Yeah, you're good.
This is the first time I've used this software, so I apologize. Ask me about mapping software, not a problem. Chelsea tasked me with making a map, an online map or viewer for the public and just anyone to be able to view the different projects that are being reviewed by the department, by the South Kingstown Planning Board. So folks in town can know where development's going on, whether it's across town or in their backyard or something like that. So we have just live today put on, you can access it through the town's planning department webpage. I really miss my mouse. Come on. I have a shortcut. We're just going to go right there. So from this, here is the town's planning department page. And we have kind of a flashpoint here where we can highlight a new project for the town. So as of today, I believe yesterday, this showed what was the work being done on Old Tower Hill Road, the DOT improvements. And now we have a development project map. And you just click on this, and it brings you right to a web map that I developed that is accessible to anyone. As you saw, it comes right off the town's webpage. It has what's called a splash page, so they have to read this before they go through it. It explains what it is. It's projects that are currently being reviewed by the planning board. So these are planning board projects, not zoning board. This is the South Kingstown Planning Board. It gives you information, questions about the proposal. It gives us our phone number, and then if you want to it gives you a link if you want to get a better idea of the development review process, the different types of projects, if it's a minor subdivision, a major subdivision, just all the different. And you click OK, and you come to this map of the town. And it's a basic kind of USGS topo-like backdrop. And each of those dots are projects that are being reviewed by the planning board right now. They're pretty darn busy. And on the right, it shows you they're color-coded as to the status or where they are in the development review project or process. So are they currently being reviewed? Have they been approved? Is green, under construction is blue, and orange is constructed. And this is data. I'm not responsible for posting this data. This data is being posted. I have a separate back door for the planning department staff themselves, Chelsea and Kayla, to, a new proposal comes up, they can drop a dot and start adding data. They have it changes from under review to approved. They can easily change the color. This can be updated daily or hourly or something like that. And so it's the purpose of this map is to be simple and a specific project. It's not to find out how much your taxes are. It's not how much to see what your zoning district is or what your school. We have the web GIS for that. So this is strictly for projects. And so as you zoom in, so once again, it's pretty simple, very simple tools. You have a zoom in and zoom out. You can bring you back to home. You can search for a particular project or an address. Like you say, hey, I hear there's a hotel going up on Route 1. So you type in hotel. And it's going to show you that there is a hotel being proposed. It's actually under construction, South County Commons District Hotel. And so you can see there's all this different information about the project, the name of the project, the assessor's plat and lot, the street address, the description, the zoning district, the status, the type of development. So the hotel is a major land development project. The status, the next step. There aren't any because it's being constructed. But the coolest part, it's all cool. It's actually all really cool. You have these attachments, so we can click directly and see the latest plan as submitted to the planning board. So this shows you the plan for the hotel. And you can zoom in and out. So that is and we've also dated these, so you can see it's named 2018-1204, so it was submitted December 4th, 2018. And it has a hotel landscape plan. You open that up. And these are relatively fast. And yes, if you wanted to, these are public documents. You could download them onto your computer if you wanted to. This is all open public information, the architect rendering hotel. So this is what the hotel is going to look like once it's done. And as Rob had mentioned, the map that he showed of the accessory departments, you can kind of see that there was a fair amount of development proposals along, this is Old Tower Hill Road here, which makes sense, because that's where we have the Pawtucket Credit Unions going in, there's Flood Mazda, Hillside Commons, the Credit Union, and things like that. So it shows not only the larger developments, but let's say you're driving down Route 108 one day and you see that there's one of the orange signs or something notifying that there's something in front of the planning board. You say, hey, what's on Route 108? Well, turns out that that development happens to be called the lots on 108. And this is a 4-lot subdivision that's currently it's purple, so it's under review, so it's currently in front of the planning board. And you can see it's a 4-lot subdivision. What the zoning district is, it's R20, which is 20,000 square feet minimum lot size. What the review stage is, it's still in the pre-application concept plan review. And the next step is the applicant is submitting for the next stage of review. You can click on some of these development proposals. The applicants provide a narrative. So here's a narrative explaining in words, just kind of a brief summary of what the property is. I did what? Oh, I'm sorry. I see it here. It's just not there. So they can get all the information that they would like, and if they have any questions, they can just call the planning department, find out more information. And then you can also look at the site plan. There we go. So it shows the proposed, at the status it is right now. And if it goes in front of the planning board and they say, well, we want these X, Y, Z changes, they have to submit another plan. We'll get the plan from them in a digital format and we'll upload it on the webpage. So we'll have what's current so people can see what's going on.
I know that for anybody who's sort of used to using online tools, this feels a lot like, a big website tool. But this is not a team of Google developers that did this. This was a development team of one. Carol put this thing together herself. This is really a pretty amazing tool.
With the help of the software company that's making it easy for non-programmers to program.
Pretty amazing, though.
This is the desktop software that I use it's a very robust and very hardy. It's called ArcMap or ArcGIS. This is what they call ArcMap Lite. You can just do a few things up there, not everything. But to me, this is just a really powerful tool. There's other couple cool things you can do. You can change the base map here, so we have the topography, or you can turn on the most recent aerial photo that we have from DOT, which is 2018, spring of 2018. And then on a side note, we've had to pay for aerial photos before. Right now, thanks to DOT and DEM, we're going to be getting free ortho photos or aerial photos for the next at least 3 years, every spring and even fall. So we'll be getting them. It takes a while to process them when they're flown. So we'll be seeing, which is nice because aerial photos are quite expensive to fly for the quality that we need. So you can zoom in. And as you zoom in a little bit more, we do have a few data layers turn on. So there's the parcel data layer turn on. And if you want to find out a little information about who, I have just plat and lot and the parcel code and the size. I don't have ownership here because ownership changes so often. It changes every day. If you want the most current owner of that property, you can go to the WebGIS, which is updated every 2 weeks as soon as the assessor does. But this is separate. So, and you can do, and there's also the same information after the splash page goes away under I for information. If more information to contact, once again, to get back to the planning website or to contact the planning department directly. You can measure distance if you want to see, hey, how far is this subdivision from my house over here? And it will tell you up there. So kind of simple tools. This isn't supposed to be an end-all, be-all.
But what this is a tool for the public to begin to understand what's going on before the planning board. A lot of folks have questions about the development that's going on. We've heard a lot of folks express concern that they find it difficult to figure out what's going on with all the various projects around town. This is one place where everybody can go and see what's going on at the planning department and with the planning board. The commitment from the planning department is to make sure that this information is up to date so that every citizen has got access to information about what's going on in town today related to what's going on today. The information should be updated on a basis so that nobody opens up this map and does not find the project that they just heard is happening.
It's really cool.
Any
Thanks, Carol.
questions?
No, it's pretty.
This is really fun, thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Carol.
Yeah, nicely done.
Great job.
All right, I'll have to for that some more later.
And that's the manager's report.
All right, thank you.
Mine will be in executive session.
All right, very good. I don't think there's any appointments tonight, so that brings us to new business. 13A is a resolution in support of legislation to establish an Ocean State Climate Adaptation and Resilience Fund. This was at the request of Save the Bay. I believe Jed Thorpe is here to come and speak to this resolution.
I don't have a presentation per se, but I'll just give you a quick little overview of the legislation and sort of the intent behind it. First of all, Happy Earth Day. That wasn't mentioned yet tonight, so Happy Earth Day to everyone. Save the Bay, if you're not familiar with Save the Bay, we've been around for about 50 years, working with communities along the bay throughout the state to help improve and protect Narragansett Bay. And in our recent work, one of the big problems that we've seen towns and cities struggle with are various problems related to the impacts of climate change. So sea level rise, storm surge, increase in flooding, coastal erosion, things of that nature. And as it stands right now, there's no pool of state dollars that cities and towns can tap into to help address some of the infrastructure problems that cities and towns are faced with. Things like moving ends of road back from the shore, removing pavement, resizing culverts, improving streamside buffers, addressing erosion, things of that nature. As it currently stands, most cities and towns have to figure out how to fund those projects out of their own budget. So the establishment of the Ocean State Climate Adaptation and Resilience Fund, what we call the OSCAR Fund, would generate a pool of about $2 million a year that cities and towns throughout the state could tap into for various projects. Where would the money come from? So the fund would be created by imposing a 5-cent per barrel fee on petroleum imports into the state of Rhode Island. Currently, Rhode Island has an existing 5-cent per barrel fee. It's called the OSPAR fee. It was created to deal with oil spills. That fee is, as I understand it, the lowest such fee in the region. If we were to double that by an additional 5 cents, it will put Rhode Island at about the middle of the pack for that OSPAR fee. What does that mean in terms of real dollars for the average consumer? 5 cents per barrel. The fee would equate to about 1 additional cent on a 10-gallon gasoline fill-up. So, if you figure you put 10 gallons of gas in your car, today it would cost you about $25. With this fee, it would cost you $25.01. For a home heating oil delivery, it would cost you an additional roughly 24 cents on a 700 or a 250-gallon home heating oil delivery. In short, the intent here is to help cities and towns deal with some problems that they're already faced with and problems that are going to continue to be bigger problems down the road. So I'll stop there, and if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Thorpe?
I'll also note that the legislation on the Senate side has already received a hearing before the Senate Environment Committee. It was a favorable hearing. A lot of folks voicing support. The only opposition was, not surprisingly, from the American Petroleum Institute. We're awaiting a hearing before the House Finance Committee. That probably won't happen for a few weeks until they're done with the budget discussions. And we've been getting similar resolutions from other towns. I know you guys received correspondence from Charlestown. They passed a similar resolution. Barrington, Warren, Middletown, some others have done similar resolutions as well.
Has it come out of committee in the Senate?
It has not come out of committee in the Senate. It has not been voted on in committee yet.
Any other questions?
Were there any other thoughts of generating funds from elsewhere, or Is it just the barrels of oil?
Yeah, that would, with this legislation, that's sort of the sole source of the funding. To be frank, I don't see the General Assembly putting it into the general, operating budget for the state. That's probably unlikely. So this was, we thought the most fair way to do it, given the impacts that the burning of petroleum has had on the climate change problem to begin with. We thought this was sort of the best way to go about it.
Very good. I actually think I helped draft a version of this a couple of years ago when I was working.
Perhaps, yeah. This has been introduced, this is, I think, the third year that this legislation or similar legislation has been introduced.
Has it ever hit the floor for a vote?
It has not hit the floor for a vote, but we think the politics are a little bit different this time around. We have better sponsors on both the House and Senate side. I won't get into all the sausage making of how all that works, but we feel like it's got a much better chance, and much more momentum this time around.
And how many co-sponsors do you have in each?
On the Senate side, there's only one sponsor of the bill, Senator Lynch Prada. On the House side, the House version is sponsored by Representative Maldonado from Central Falls, and there's 5 or 6 other co-sponsors on the House bill.
I'll make a motion to approve 13A.
Do I hear a second? I'll second that. Discussion.
So my hesitation is not with the intent of this. My hesitation is with the fund being managed by the General Assembly. I'm concerned that it's not dedicated for this purpose. We've seen that a number of times here. I have a whole host of issues with the bill itself.
I don't know if I can speak to that, or if it's...
Of course.
So this pool of money would be managed by the Department of Environmental Management in conjunction with the CRMC. It would be a separate dedicated pool of money that would go into this fund. The legislation was written in that way. It doesn't make it impossible for the legislature. They can always scoop various funds, but it makes it much more difficult than simply having it as a line item in the general budget.
And the criteria for, $2 million is not going to go very far when we have to rebuild a culvert somewhere, right? We know it's not a huge pool of money. So my concern is vying, the process for vying for the dollars between the cities and towns, and pitting, project against project. What's built into the legislation to alleviate?
It would be a competitive process by its nature. Again, DEM and CRMC they're required to come up with a process to review applications and make determinations. And there's criteria in the legislation that guides DEM and CRMC on how to sort of weigh projects against one another.
And I would just speak to the potential of rating. The OSPAR fund has existed for decades now, and I don't think I recall it being rated frequently or at all.
So you said the fund's been around for a while, or?
The oil spill prevention, emergency prevention. I think, it being Earth Day, I'd love to pass this resolution. I do think, particularly here in South Kingstown, coastal resilience is a major issue that we've bumped our heads against for years. And
I agree with you on that. One of the concerns I have is where will the money actually end up, I guess, at the end of the day. I'm assuming climate change will affect everyone, but some of the seaside communities are going to be more affected by sea level rise quicker than others. So my only concern is, like Deb said, making sure the money is utilized for that, and second, whether or not it's going to be a fair process in terms of getting access to any of those funds.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a concern, but if the money's not there, then we're never going to be able to apply for it anyway.
Mr. President, if I may, it may be helpful, just as an observation, earlier, well, last year and early this year, South Kingstown was involved in a project, an exercise to sort of do a survey of funding available for climate change projects. What is it that we can do? What tools are available to municipalities in Rhode Island and across the country? And really the upshot of that project, which was done in conjunction with the League of Cities and the University of Rhode Island and the Law Center, Environmental Law Center over at Roger Williams, the upshot from, or the takeaway at least from my perspective, was we're sort of in the policy formation period. We don't have a whole lot of tools that are in place. So everybody's sort of scrambling to find out what might work. Certainly a state fund was one of the things that folks have started looking at as a possible way to deal with the challenges that are ahead. Special taxing districts, there's a whole bunch of different strategies that folks are looking at. It's been said that, you know, the great thing about having 50 states in the United States is that we have 50 laboratories with different policies that are tested. This is a strategy. Whether it's going to be the most successful strategy is yet to be seen. All of these things, all of these tools on how to proceed and how to deal with climate change have got to be tested because we've never been through this challenge before.
Right, and the only other thing I would add to that is the concern of the fact that when it comes to fuel, we're already taxed very heavily on that by the state, and this is just something else we're going to be potentially adding to that. But on the flip side, the environment's really important to protect and try to figure out what we can do to slow down climate change.
Any further discussion on this item? All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, Jen. And that motion carries. 13B is a resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into and execute a 2-year solid waste and recycling services agreement with the Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation for the disposal of municipal and solid waste and for a period between July 1st, 2019 and June 30th, 2021, further described in a memo from the Public Services Director to the town manager entitled Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation Municipal Solid Waste and Recycling Services Agreement. Long words. Do you want to say anything about this agreement?
Why don't we call John Schock up? He's here for the next 3, I guess.
Good evening. John Schock, the Public Services Director. So in Rhode Island, for municipalities to be eligible for a reduced tip fee for municipal solid waste, they have to enter in a contract with Resource Recovery. This is our standard contract that we do every couple of years. The good news is the tip fee is remaining unchanged for the next 2 years at $47 a ton. The bad news is we do, in the past, have got what's called a tip fee rebate, where if we meet the 35% diversion threshold for single-stream recyclables, we are then given a reduction off what we tip. That's going to be kept for the next 2 years, but 2 years after that, we are going to lose that. It's being eliminated, which for us accounts for about $12,000 a year. Other than that, the contract's essentially unchanged from prior years.
That's some sad Earth Day news. All right. Do I hear a motion on 13B?
Motion to approve 13B?
Second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
13C is a resolution authorizing awards of bid at the unit prices bid to the following: New England Asphalt Services for single 3/8-inch treated stone seal with latex at the unit price of $1.89 a square yard. Seal coating from Inc., doing business as Indus of Braintree, Mass. for type 2 microsurfacing one lift at the unit price of $3.47 a square yard, and Seal Coating Inc., again, for crack sealing at the unit price of $10.70 a gallon. The sum total for all pavement management services above not to exceed $260,000 for FY 2018-2019, and the same for 2019-2020, further detailed in a memo from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager.
I'll make a motion to approve 13C.
Second.
So moved. You want to say anything about this, John?
This is just our annual stone seal pavement preservation program that's part of the operating budget.
All right. We have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. 13D is a resolution authorizing an amendment to an award of bid originally granted on June 26, 2017, and amended on May 14, 2018, to T. Miozzi of Compass Circle, North Kingstown, for an amount not to exceed $1,670,550 to an amount not to exceed $2,928,693 for the FY 2019-2020 pavement reclamation and overlay.
So this is part of our capital budget, our road improvement program. The bad news is asphalt prices are up significantly due to the emulsion project. So we've had a good run for many years with the prices being very favorable. That's changed a couple of years ago. So it's resulting in less roads being paved. We were originally proposing Old North Road for next fiscal year. We're going to have to defer that to a future year, or if, I don't know, if additional funding will be available. At some point, unless the prices come back down, we're going to have to see the number of roads get scaled back. The pricing is just such that it's having a profound impact on what we're able to accomplish in a given year.
Thank you. All right, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve item 13D.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you, John. And that brings us to the end of the agenda. We do have a closed executive session on tap, so I'm going to have to ask you all to leave. Do I hear a motion to move into closed executive session?
Make a motion, we move to executive session.
Yeah, just, can you read that?
No, I have to read.
I can. Do you want me to? Okay. I'll make a motion that we move to executive session pursuant to RIGL 42-46-5A2 to discuss matters pertaining to litigation regarding Damon Borelli versus Town of South Kingstown and regarding M&J Construction.
Second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.